Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Biorex, I warmly welcome you all to today's Biotalk session. Biotalks is our initiative to bring biology beyond textbooks, creating a space where ideas, research, and real world science come together. It's all about sparking curiosity, simplifying complex concepts, and building a community that genuinely engages with science. And today, we are diving into a fascinating theme: nature's incognito mode, the evolutionary mastery of disguise. This session explored the incredible ways organisms use mimicry and coloration to survive, blending in, standing out, or even deceiving others in the natural world. We are delighted to have Bhaarathi, a third year BSc Zoology student from Justice Basheer Ahmed Sayeed College for Women, Chennai, who will be guiding us through this intriguing subject. So get ready for a session that will change how you observe nature, where every color, pattern, and disguise has a story to tell. Let's begin.
Thank you so much, Dia, for the good introduction. Let me share my screen just a minute. Am I audible? Hello,
Yes, you are audible.
just a minute. I hope the screen is visible now. So, first of all, I extend my thanks to the team Biorex for conducting such kind of sessions where students can interact, and actually students are the ones who are actually we are young minds, right? So we are just exploring our career paths, and we are exploring what's there behind the walls, and platforms like this will enable us to interact more, and we enable us to widen our perspective on our subject as well as our understanding. So thank you so much for Wirex for this opportunity, and I think we can move on to our session. So basically, today's session is something. I'll be sharing my curious perspective on some concepts of nature, like based on evolution. Rather than we won't be having so many research-oriented topics or research data or research findings here. Just we'll be delving into concepts, and actually the concepts are the ones making us to understand something about nature, and making us to take step to something or find something, right? So the concept is the base part, so I think we can move to the concept first. So this will be completely curious, and we'll be having so much examples today, so that we'll be just seeing the natural world once. So I think let's begin. Um, my topic is nature's incognito mode. I've selected, like, it is based on the appearance. So in nature, not all organisms are same like how they appear. Some may appear calm but are aggressive. Some may appear aggressive but are calm. Sometimes the ones looking aggressive are actually aggressive, and ones looking there are some organisms where we can't find that actually, but they are there. So they are camouflaged. So appearance in nature is not just a beauty trait, but it's a functional trait which is one of the survival strategies that enable the organism to survive and to protect themselves from their predators. So without Charles Darwin, our evolution will not be so much interesting as it is today, right? So, according to Charles Darwin, he says the strongest species in the nature is not the ones which is, I mean, the species which is surviving the nature is not the one which is so strong in their physique, or which is so intelligent, but the one which is adaptive, easily adaptable to the changing environment, because the environment is not something constant, right? A change is constant in our environment. So the organisms which try to adapt themselves to whatever is being changed in the environment, such organisms will be getting the chance to explore what are all the changes happening in the environment. So they can be easily surviving the environment, so that once they survive the environment successfully, they can easily reproduce. So as they reproduce, the species will be sustained in the nature for a long period. That is how evolution bring narrowed or widened so many species which are alive today, right? So there are so many survival strategies that organisms follow to be sustained in the nature, or to be in the environment without getting extinct. In that, today we are going to see just a single perspective on appearance, how the appearance mold the species to survive, to sustain the environment without, or to protect themselves from their predators, or to um, deceive their predators, or like this. There are so many things in their appearance itself. So we are going to see that today, and in that, the main two parts we are going to see is coloration and mimicry. So coloration in human beings, the seeing the color, seeing the physical color is actually unethical, right? But in biological world, it is one of the main traits of an organism for their survival and for their interaction, mainly interaction between the species or within the species over there. So the coloration plays a main role here. So even this line was said by Charles Darwin. Features such as coloration evolved by providing individual animals with reproductive advantage. So as I already said, reproductive advantage is like when some coloration gives advantage for an organism by making it unnoticeable from their predators. It it, it eventually leads to the survival, or it eventually leads to it prevents the decline of the species. So once the decline of species is prevented, so they can easily reproduce, and as they reproduce, the species will be sustained in the environment. In these examples, so may I know what some can somebody find something is there in the first image? So can somebody find it? Can you see something there, out there?
Is
Because
that
the
an owl?
second, sorry.
Is that an owl?
Yeah, exactly. So here we can see an owl. It's eastern screech owl. So how is just see how camouflaged it is. So as a biologist, we'll be searching for organisms like this because we know what camouflage is and what coloration does. But for even a non-biologist, they can't easily find out. So even for humans, for we humans, it is quite hard to find something camouflage. And it is not. I mean, that owl is not camouflaged to hide from us, but to hide from its own predator. So the owl's predator will not be able to see that out. So that's how the owl protects themselves from getting eaten by their predators. So this is one of the strategy the organisms use, that is the camouflage. The second one is poison dart frog. We all know that. So poison dart frog is something so colorful, so brightly colored, like the actually it is poisonous, but when their predators see it, just by seeing the colors there, the predators will just avoid, because predators know that it is toxic. But how they tell the predators I'm toxic? So they color themselves in such a way that the predators just avoid them by their appearance. The next one is zebra. So it is a kind of disruptive coloration where the organism has contrast colors in their body pattern. I mean, contrast color patterns in their body, so that when the predator chase the prey, so the predator get confused. Like when a contrast color is given and the contrast color pattern is moving so fastly, the predator may get confused. Like the predator get confused in the structure, the whole structure of the species. So that is how they prevent and they survive. So there are so many types of coloration being classified. So in that first is camouflage. So I think we can. identify what are there in those two barks. Am I right? Can we can identify, right? So the first one is a moth, which is Sphinx moth. So it is completely camouflaged in the bark so that no predator can identify, because predators don't sit and watch the bark like if any moth is sitting there or not. If any prey is visible to their eyes, they will just capture it and they just eat it. So they won't sit find their prey, right? So that is one of the advantage for the prey, because they can easily camouflage themselves so that no predators can find them, come capture them. And here it is, the brown creeper bird. So it is both are native to America. So even the brown creeper bird is completely camouflaged in the dark bark, but they can't be easily found by their predators. So actually, we know, right? Insects are the most abundant species in Earth. The main reason I think would be the one of the main reasons would be this thing, like the more adaptive nature of the insects. Like one moth is like this, camouflage completely. There are so many different moths which are so different and beautiful characters that uh, prevents them. They prevent themselves from their predators. So this is how the insects are being so abundant and they are so diversified with so many characters that supports their survival, that makes their survival being so safe from the predators. Next is advertising colors. So while some colors are meant for camouflage, some colors make the species just painted with the background. Some colors are quite advertising, like like in case of Wilson's Bird Paradise. So these birds advertise their color to in order to mate, in order to reproduce mainly. So this Wilson bird of paradise is such a colorful bird, and the image showed here is a male bird. Female is quite brownish in color, and so this coloration itself is one of the main traits for them to select the male mates. So this is actually similar to the peacocks which we see in our country. So I just added this. Actually, this Wilson's bird of paradise is an endemic bird. Native to Indonesia. So there are so many different birds or so many different organisms that possess so wonderful colors just in order to attract their mates, in order to have successful reproductive um, processes. And coloration in flowers, this we all know, right? So coloration, floral coloration is something so admiring. We can admire the colors, like how intricate those colors are, different colors, in order to attract the pollinators. And those flowers will not just take advantage of the pollinators, they will also reward them with the nectars, right? So in order to pollinate, they are possessing so many different colors, yellow, orange, blue, etc., etc. Just in order to attract, just in order to yeah, that's what. In order to attract their pollinators, and they reward them with some gift like nectar or food, whatever, and they just pollinate. So that is how this coloration, advertising coloration, is meant. So while seeing all these things, we are just admiring, like, oh, so much things are there in nature. Just so these colors aren't meant just like that, right? So these colors, each and every color has something behind the evolutionary. If we see the evolutionary path of any particular species, there will be some reason for such coloration or such characteristic behavior. Everything, there will be some certain reasons, right? So it's so amazing to study all those reasons. So to puzzle them, to solve those puzzles, how it came, how it was derived, why only this color, why not that color, like that. So, but even that question, why only this color, why not that color, has some reasons. There might be some, I mean, it all depends on how an organism is perceived in an environment by by the individuals of their own species and by the individuals of other species, be it the prey or be it their own predators, like that. So it is based on how they are perceived in the environment and how they are interacting. And the next is aposematic color. So aposematism is a behavior where organisms uh, tell warn other organisms by showing something like color or showing something olfactory aposematism is there. So there are different kinds of aposematic behavior where the organism warn others with their own tools, with their own defensive tools. So here there are the examples are skunk and poison dart frog. So about poison dart frog, we already saw that poison dart frogs are poisonous and they project themselves and warn their predators by possessing a very attractive, I mean, very bright colors like yellow, blue, black, red, everything. So by just projecting themselves bright, they warn their predators like uh, how poisonous they are. And this is skunks, which are mammals. The interesting behavior of these skunks are like they project, uh, they emit some kind of pungent gas, which is foul smelled gas, as a defensive mechanism. So actually, they are not aggressive. The skunks are not aggressive organisms, but they for in order to defend themselves, they spray some pungent gas, which is foul smell. So before they are spraying it, they just project themselves as by this color, by this contrast stripings, they project themselves to their predators and they warn their predators not to touch me. Okay, so I'm here. So they are proving or they are just showing their presence there in that environment. They are not hiding their presence, but they are projecting their presence and warning their predators. I'm here, please don't come to me, like that. So it is not just about hiding, it's also about projecting themselves strong or projecting themselves impalatable. So that they can be the predators can be away from them even when the predators knows that the prey is there. The predators will be away from them. And then it is deimatic display. Deimatic display is kind of confusing coloration. So an organism can be so calm, so a simple organism, but they project themselves something like it is a kind of big predator. It is kind of the topmost predator kind of thing. That is how they can protect themselves from the predator. Like they, for example, so common owlet moth is given here. So I've seen in an Animal Planet episode where this common owlet moth was sitting in a branch. So a rat is coming and to in order to capture that moth, but suddenly, when the moth opened its wing, the rat was like, "Oh my God, snake!" Just it ran away, like something. So the moth is not poisonous actually, but the way it projects itself when the predator reaches it, so that is how they are just protecting themselves. Just it is nothing, no complex mechanism there. Just opening the wings and the patterns does the remaining things. So it's just the pattern that make that moth to survive from the predator. And the next is Indian flower mantis. So this mantis is kind of like flower actually. It's also called a spiny flower mantis. So it's looking like a flower. So it acts in two ways actually. So the wings has eye spots, right? So the eye spots help the mantis to protect themselves from its own predators. And the way it looks like flower makes its prey to come near the mantis. So when some insect, small insect, thinks this mantis has thinks this mantis has flower, they may come in search of nectar. But this is not a flower actually. This is a mantis. So mantis will just capture it and just have its meal, have its breakfast or whatever. When a predator comes to see what it is to eat this mantis, they just open their wings like something so dangerous, or so something which is more dangerous than the predator. The predator will be just confused, like some, see, when an organism is approaching a prey and something is confused there, they'll be like, oh, no, 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 this is not a safe place to go, so just we'll just go back. That's it. No physical fight or no escapism, nothing. Just perceiving as someone else. So it is just a kind of deceiving the predator with some patterns in their body. That's it. So this is what dematic display is. So actually, even cuttlefish is a good example here. So they don't have something in their own body. Actually, they just split a kind of ink which which turn the water into a cloudy form, and they just escape from that place. So, but of course, that is not example for appearance, but it is one of kind of startling predators. So we have seen so many different coloration types. It's just a simple mechanism like how coloration actually occurs in nature. So there are so many ways coloration. I mean, there are three ways how coloration occurs. One is by chromatophores, as we all know, and in chromatophores we have melanocytes, melanophores, iridophores, and xanthophores. So melanophores will give us the dark pigment, and xanthophores will be having carotenoids, which will be giving us orange, red, orange, yellow pigments. So this iridophores will be having the guanine crystals, which is also kind of structural coloration, where when light passes through that guanine crystal, the lights get reflected out in the skin. So even in case of poison dart frog, it is a structural coloration with the help of iridophores, because blue colored poison dart frog, they do not have xanthophores, so that the light which enters the layer of the skin will will fall on this iridophores, and the light which is reflected is blue colored light, and thus the blue poison dart frog is looking blue in color. So other poison dart frogs like yellow and strawberry frogs, they do have xanthophores, so that the light also gets reflected, as well as the xanthophores also produce colors. And through structural coloration, and we all know this, so structural coloration is something like where the nanoparticles, I mean nanostructures of the on the layer of skin or on the feathers, that reflects the color in such a way that looks so beautiful, like uh, something artistic in nature. So now we'll be moving on to mimicry, which is very interesting uh, aspects in nature to explore or to just understand. So coloration is something so interesting, while mimicry is something like, so we'll be thinking, so even here we can see the hawkmoth caterpillar. So at first it might be looking as a caterpillar, and suddenly if we touch it, it shows itself like a snake, but actually it is a caterpillar again. How intricate it is, how wonderfully designed it is. So it is just amazing, right? So while coloration allows organisms to manage visibility, mimicry allows them to manipulate their own perception. So in coloration, the colors or the patterns will decide the perception. In mimicry, the structure itself, or in mimicry, it is not only about the appearance, also about the sounds, also about the behavior. Mimicry is a wider part than the coloration. Coloration is about appearance, while mimicry is about appearance and also how they behave, and also like how they sound or how they react to the sounds, like that. So there are so many aspects when we see about mimicry. So it is an evolutionary strategy in which one organism resembles another organism or object to influence its behavior of a receiver. So here in mimicry, the mimic is not actually uh, the mimic actually resembles the model, but in basic it is not. But the predator doesn't know that the mimic and model are different. For the predator, both mimic and model are the same, right? So that is how some organisms desert their predator, or some organisms they cheat their predators and they escape from being eaten. So there are different types of mimicry. So we'll be seeing some of the types of mimicry with certain examples now. First is Batesian mimicry. All these Batesian mimicry, Mullerian mimicry, and Bosmanian mimicry all derive from the scientists Bates, Muller, like that. So in Bayesian mimicry, it is that one harmless organism is perceived as an harmful organism. So the mimic will be actually a harmless one, but it perceives itself as it perceives its appearance in regards to the harmful model. So when a predator had an experience with the harmful, it harmful doesn't mean it is poisonous. It can be impalatable or inedible organisms too. So in case of butterfly, this common mormon and common rose is something inedible because it is quite bitter in taste. So predators won't prefer common rose for their food as their food. So this common mormon, what it does is actually common mormon is edible one. So predators can easily eat common mormon and it is not so bitter or something like that. So when both organisms are there in us in particular environment or in particular ecosystem, when common rose is quite abundant, while common mormon is less abundant or less common, and as they both looking like the same, the predators will actually predator don't like common rose, right? So when they see common mormon, they won't think if it is common rose or common mormon because for them it's just their food. When they see common mormon in the place where common rose is abundant, they just easily avoid the common mormon also because it resembles the one which is not edible. So that is how certain organisms they take advantage of the of other organisms. So just by taking advantage of other organisms, they live happily in an environment. Again, the same thing in scarlet king snake and coral snake. Coral snakes are actually inedible. They are poisonous, while scarlet king snake are non-venomous. Non-venomous, so they can be they are edible by their predators. But in a place where coral snakes and scarlet king snakes are there, and coral snakes are common, predators, as such, avoid the scarlet king snake also, just because they had a bitter experience with coral snakes because coral snakes are venomous, right? So this is Batesian mimicry, but there is a twist there. So just imagine. So we said when model is abundant and the mimic is less abundant than model, this Batesian mimicry works out well. But in case if this changes out and where a mimic turns abundant and model turns less abundant, the predators will be comfortable with the mimics. So the models are getting affected there. So the technique completely is getting negative when the population dynamics is there in an environment. So here the population actually means a lot in case of Batesian mimicry. Next is Mullerian mimicry. So here in Mullerian mimicry is quite interesting. While Batesian mimicry is something commensalistic, actually I said when population of model is high and population of mimic is low, the mimicry process will be a positive one. Positive results with the model and mimic get a mimic will get a positive result out of that mimicry. in case it is altered, the population is altered, the mimic and model both will be getting affected by the result. But in case of Mullerian mimicry, it is like mutualism, where both model and mimic look alike. So mimic resembles the model, while both are inedible or both are poisonous or both are impalatable. So in case of monarchs and viceroy butterfly and wasp and honeybee, excuse me. So monarchs and viceroy butterfly at first it was classified under bakes and mimicry. Like monarchs was an impalatable one and viceroy is actually an edible butterfly. But then the viceroy is resembling monarch's butterfly, so it was under bakes and mimicry. And but after the recent research is found that viceroy butterflies are also inedible for the birds, for the predators, and thus they are under Mullerian mimicry. They perform Mullerian mimicry. Both look actually we can find the difference between monarchs and viceroy easily. Like the viceroy has post median line here in the wings, but monarchs doesn't have that. But for a predator, it doesn't mean if they have lines or not, but just the color and pattern. They resemble, if they resemble enough to deceive their predator, that is what a successful mimicry is in nature. So that is how this monarchs and viceroy butterfly in are sharing uh, good relationship, I mean, good interaction by having Mullerian mimicry. So, in case of wasp and honeybee, so both wasp and honeybee both have stings. They both are painful ones. So, they both are actually predators won't prefer bat or wasp. So, they both share common appearance trait like yellow and black stripes. So, as they as they have stings and they are not preferred by predators and also possess same kind of stripes, they can be easily avoided by the predators. So harmful species share warning signal to reinforce predator warning. So that is what Mullerian mimicry is. The next is Weismanian mimicry. So in Weismanian mimicry, it is that mimic resemble the host to integrate with the host itself and to exploit their resources. So in this case, uh, not both are ants actually. At first, when we see without any deep observation, we'll just find it as an ant. That's it. So we'll just move away. But it is both these are not ants. The second one is actually an ant, but the first one is actually ant mimicking spider. So this interaction is very interesting one. While this weaver ants are actually most aggressive ants actually, so they won't allow any other individuals or any others to in their nest. But these ant mimicking spider, they resemble like ants exactly, and they also have side black color spots as an eye to mimic the ants. How intricate the details are. Actually, spiders they do have 8 legs, and ants they have 6 legs, right? So these ant mimicking spider, what they does is the 6 legs at the back will be working as legs, and the both front legs will be like antenna. They'll just lift both 2 legs and they mimic those legs as antenna itself, so that so that there will not be any confusion between is it a spider or an ant. So it exactly looks like an ant. So that is how it exploits the resources of the ants. In some cases, it eats the larvae of the ant also by just by just involving in the crowd of the ant population itself. So that is how it diseases its host itself. So it's kind of parasitic interaction. Then we go for aggressive mimicry. So in aggressive mimicry, the mimic resembles a peaceful or safe model. but actually they resemble such an organism or such uh, a structure or appearance that the prey will come approach the mimic so that they can easily capture their prey easily. There are so many examples for aggressive mimicry. So first is anglerfish. Anglerfish are the deep sea fishes. They have a, a projection on their head. So actually it's kind of lure, fish lure. It's looking like a fish lure, like, right? So it will be having a bioluminescent at the tip of the lure. What happens is that it is in the deep sea ocean. I mean, it is in the deep ocean part. So it will be just moving its lure here and there, here and there. So other fishes, when they see that, they won't be identifying that it is an angler fish that's showing its lure to in order to attract prey. They just see something is moving there, so it might be the prey. So they will just approach the fish without fish going to approach them. The prey will approach the fish. So that is what is the special about aggressive mimicry. In aggressive mimicry, the prey will be they resemble harmless. They resemble someone so calm, but actually they are aggressive. So the prey approaches them, and in that at that time they'll just capture their prey as such. So in case of anglerfish, yeah, they the lure is there with bioluminescent nature, right? So when the prey comes near, and once the lure is touched by the prey, that's it. The anglerfish will just capture its prey and just eat it off. And then orchid mantis is also same like that, flower mantis. It exactly looks like an orchid flower, right? But it does have legs, and it does have head, abdomen, everything it does have, but in a shape of a flower. That's it. So when an insect approaches it for nectar, it will just capture its prey and have a meal. That's it. So that is how it deceives its prey and just eat it. Eat them. Uh, Here it there is no need for them for chasing their prey or to fight for their food. They will just be there by their appearance. Their prey will approach them, assuming that they are harmless, or they assuming that they are going to be rewarded with something there. They assume, but they are deceived by the appearance there. So that is how aggressive mimicry works. In case of alligator snapping turtle, alligator snapping turtle has kind of worm-like structure in the inside their mouth. So here we could see the worm-like structure, right? So they'll just keep their mouth open and the worm-like structure to uh, just be visible for other organisms. So as the organisms come as the organism come uh, a- approaches this alligator snapping turtle by thinking there is something inside its mouth, and they will just go inside their mouth as a meal. That is how alligator snapping turtle deceive their prey. It is fringe jumping spider. So this spider does very interesting work actually to attract their prey. So this jumping spider eats other spiders also. What happens is that, so the spiders, there are so many ways the spider capture its prey just by hanging from the top to the place where the spider is there. So they just hang down and they just capture its prey. That's one point. Another kind where this aggressive mimicry works is that, so the spider will be having a web, right? So this fringe jumping spider, they go near the web, the end of the web, and with their legs, they just vibrate the webs. So actually, when an insect gets stuck in a web, they'll be trying to escape so that the web vibrates. So with that vibration, only the spider will come and they capture the prey, right? So this jumping spider, what it does is they just mimic the vibration when an insect is when an insect gets trapped in the web, it vibrates. The web vibrates. So this spider will mimic the vibration itself. So the prey, what it thinks is that okay, something is there, something stuck there. So now it's time for breakfast. So the spider moves in the direction of the vibration, and as it reaches near the spider, this jumping spider will just capture its prey, and it will have its meal. So that is how it is. It's kind of cue mimicry. So in mimicry, we have two different types. One is apart from all these aggressive bits and Mullerian, the mimicry can be classified into two types, like signaling mimicry and cue mimicry. So signaling mimicry is something that when a mimic copies some particular trait which is meant for communication, that we define as signal mimicry. In cue mimicry, the trait which is copied or which is imitated by the mimic is not meant to be communicated by the model actually. So in case of this jumping spider, the insect when it gets stuck, it doesn't meant to communicate to the spider by vibrating the web. It just tries to escape from the web. That creates vibration, and that is how the spider reaches the insect and it eats the prey. But that particular part or particular trait or particular uh, function is just copied by the spider. That vibration, so this spider knows if I vibrate it, that spider will come, so I can eat it. So that is how the cues of the model is mimicked by the mimic for their own benefits. So that is how signal mimicry and cue mimicry are differentiated. And then the next is auto mimicry. So in auto mimicry, it is also quite interesting one. So in auto mimicry, what happens is that organisms, they have head, tail, wings, everything they have, but they will also have something like a fake body part like that kind. So a part of organism's own body mimics another part to misdirect the predator. So in case of gray hashtag butterfly, in front, I mean, in the below, we can see the head part, the antenna, everything. But in the tail, in the hind wings, also we can see some projection like antenna. So this will deceive the predator, like, oh, this is facing this direction. We can't, because predators, they go from the back to avoid the escapism of the prey, right? So this deception is something quite interesting. So in pygmy owl, just see. Actually, the face is there, the eyes are there in front, but also in the back side, they have two dark black spots which seem like a eyes. So when the predator sees that pygmy owl from the distance, they'll be like, "Oh, it is staring this side, so we can't go this way." Even and in the opposite side, it's the same. So in that way, they protect themselves not by copying some other organisms, but by copying their own body part in other direction. Interesting, right? So the next is mimesis. So mimesis is something cap similar to camouflage. Actually, it is a camouflage where an organism just blends to the background as such. So camouflage is like even the color patterns will be can be used as I mean the color patterns will also help the organism to camouflage. In mimesis, the organism will resemble the objects of the background. So the first one is psyllium, leaf insect, and the second one is walking stick insect, we call it as. And the third one is caterpillar actually, brimstone moth's caterpillar actually. So here the caterpillar is. So we can't just like that identify which is stem, which is branch, or which is caterpillar here. And this is oak leaf butterfly. So actually, this oak leaf butterfly looks like a brown dried leaf, but when they open their wings, it is so colorful, like blue and black patches there'll be. So that will also startle their predators. Like even if the predator knows it's a butterfly, as they approach the butterfly, once they open their wings, the predator will be startled and they move away. So that is how mimesis work. They'll just blend with their background without any doubts to their predators. So predators, they don't even uh, come here to check if it is an insect or it is a leaf, because for them it's just a leaf or just stick. That's it. That is how they avoid the eyes of their predators. And then it is acoustic mimicry. So as I already mentioned, it is not only the shape or appearance that can be mimicked, also the behavior and the sounds can be mimicked. So this is drongo. So it sounds like a cat, right? This drongo is sounding like a cat. Actually, drongos are good mimicry artists of the nature. So you, especially the folk-tail drongo in Africa, they mimic the alarm sounds of other birds or the predators, so that what other birds or organisms does is that, for example, if a bird is capturing a prey and it is bringing for bringing somewhere, this drongo, they just sound like the predator, and this bird will get frightened. Oh my god, predator is there! They'll just throw away their food and they move away. This drongo now comes and just capture that food and they eat back. That is how they just grab the food from the other organism by just mimicking some predator like or some other uh, some other organism. By mimicking like some other organisms, they just grab their food from other organisms. They just steal the food actually. And the next one is burrowing owl. Burrowing owl. Actually, this burrowing owl is one which burrows in the land. It lives in the land actually, not in for tree holes. It lives in the land. But in order to protect itself from the predators, it sounds like a rattlesnake's rattle. So just hear this. So the rattlesnake's rattle is something to warn their predators. So I'm here, don't come near me, like that. So this burrowing owl also mimic the sound of rattlesnake, so that it deceive the predators or other organisms, thinking like, okay, rattlesnake is there, we should not go. But there is actually the owl, not rattlesnake. So that is how this owl is deceiving the other organisms and protecting itself from predation. And then mimicry in plants. So not only animals that mimic, also plants that mimic. So the first one is carrion flowers. Carrion flowers, what it does is they produce some kind of dung smelling flowers there. So that they attract dung beetles and they pollinate easily. So even this is kind of cue mimicry we have already discussed. Right. The next one is Buckwheela. It's quite interesting one. So this Buckwheela is something which mimics the leaf, the shape, the venation, everything of the host plant. So this is a climber. So wherever it climbs, it mimics the host plant's leaf shape, venation, everything. They just it's like a plant chameleon. So when chameleon is there, chameleon can change color wherever it is standing, right? So like how the buckwheela will change the shape of its leaf according to the host to in order to protect them, in order to hide themselves from herbivores. And this is bee orchid. So bee orchid is a flower but looks like a bee, a female bee, so that it attracts the male bee. So male bee will be thinking there is a female and they come for mating, but then they actually that turn into flower, so that they just get nectar and they just pollinate. The last one is the lithops. So lithops. So here the lithops is completely camouflaged with the pebbles there. So lithops will just seem like stones. So that they will they hide themselves from the predator, from the herbivores. So uh, herbivores won't prefer stones to eat, right? So they just think some stone is there, so just move off. But actually, it is a plant in the shape of stone. That is how they deceive their herbivores from eating them. So there are so many coloration mimicry patterns we saw, but what is the basis for all these to be derived? It is the natural selection. So how nature selects such patterns, such things. first one, variation in appearance exists. So it is just kind of mutation or some variation. So all organisms is different from the individuals are different from each other, right? So variation exists. What happens is the differential survival and reproduction based on receiver response. So based on appearance, the receiver responds something. So receiver is here is none other than the predator. So they respond, predator or prey or whoever. They respond to the variation, and if the response is positive, the survival rate will be high. So if they can survive with that particular appearance, they can reproduce. So as they reproduce, that particular trait will be followed up to the generation, and thus a different species is formed with particular kind of behavior or color or uh, sound, whatever. So heritable traits increase in frequency, and thus they are inherited to over the generations. So as actually the curiosity, aspect curiosity is there, right? So curiosity is the one which help us to observe something. So as we observe something, especially when it comes to nature, curiosity, when we are curious about knowing all the phenomena of the nature, will start observing it. So once we are curious about something, we start observing wherever we go. So as we observe deeply, we will understand it deeply. So when we understand it deeply again, so we will know the value of particular things. So when we know the value of things around us, we will try to protect us, right? Obviously. So we will appreciate it, and that appreciation will lead us to protection or conservation. So for conserving nature, for biodiversity conservation, the base part, I think, in my opinion, is curiosity. If we are so curious, we will be just exploring everything. As we explore, we will know what is the problem and what is where the problem actually exists. So when we know where the problem actually exists, we will know how to solve it. So that is how the conservation actually has the base. So thank you so much for the opportunity. So let's discuss now.
Does anybody have any doubts or questions?
Hello, Bhaarathi.
Oh, hello.
Uh,
Mm.
I just want to add one thing.
Yeah, sir.
Basically, when human beings come into the game, the
Mm.
situation changes a bit. Like, for example, there are cases where mimicking another organism really backfires. The best example is the wolf snake, which is non-poisonous, but it mimics the poisonous crate. Now, what happens is that human beings normally doesn't kill non-poisonous snakes. Like, for example, rat snake. Rat snake is supposed to be a friend of the farmer who feeds on rats, and people doesn't kill a rat snake, but they will kill a cobra because it is poisonous and dangerous to human beings. But normally, people kill the crate because it is poisonous. But just because the wolf snake resembles the crate, they are also getting killed. So there are cases where mimicry can also backfire, which will lead to more problem. So apart from that, I really enjoyed the talk, and it was so nice to know that you really enjoyed your talk. That
Yes.
really normally doesn't happen. So that was so nice to see. So
Okay.
thank you.
Thank
Best
you.
luck.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the added information, sir. That's interesting, actually. Actually, sir, as you said, so old snakes and prey. So if we know, even if they mimic similarly, if they mimic, if both, even though if both are looking same, there might be some difference there out there. Somewhere or somewhere some differences would be there. Once we know the difference, we will try to identify if it is a wolf snake or if it is a, a poisonous crate, right? So even there, we need to know, we need to observe it, and we need to come to a conclusion that even in some situation, in a critical situation, of course we won't think if it is poisonous or non-poisonous. Of course, we'll try to protect ourselves. It's our survival strategy actually to kill other organism in order to protect ourselves. But if we know the difference, the basic difference, or the intricate difference, I think we may avoid that. We may avoid killing all those non-poisonous snakes.
Yeah, that is precisely true. Especially, there are
Mm.
many differences. The
Mm.
difference is that the wolf snake can climb vertical walls, and the crate
Uh,
cannot. So
uh,
if you see the snake on the first floor, it is definitely a non-poisonous one. So so what is important is to create awareness about the species
exactly.
in a big way. But normally, as you said, people doesn't take risk. Rather than getting themselves identified, the best thing is to kill it. So awareness is the key.
Exactly. Exactly. Any other points to say or something to ask? It's the next question. Any reason why beds in mimicry is limited to female Mormon and not male? So actually, yeah, in swallowtails, male are looking similar, and females they have wide range of mimicking nature. But I'm not having any idea about why it is limited to female. Maybe the possible reason, I think maybe for this actually females they select in case if females are selecting males, they wanted to identify if it is our species or other species. So maybe evolutionarily it might be the reason, but I'm not sure. I maybe search for it. Thank you. Are there ants which also mimic spiders? Um, Even I don't have idea, but there are so many spiders that mimics ant, so that they. But ants, if they want to mimic spiders, they have to jump like spiders, and I don't think ants will take risks because ants are social animals, so they can take the dead predator, dead animals. Even if it is big, they can take and they can bring it to their nest. So I don't think ants have the necessity to mimic like a spider. Thank you.
I just wanted to respond to that very interesting question by Arun.
Yeah.
Why the only the female mimics and why not the male? That's a very interesting question. So the probable reason lies in the fact that in most of the animal kingdom, it is the female who selects the mate. It is not the male. So the male takes extra risk to become much more visible and at the risk of being predated. So it is basically a trade-off between predation and a possibility to mate. And the sexual selection process always favor advantages for getting a mate rather than getting predated. So I personally feel that there lies the answer. And there are ants which mimics spiders. I forgot the name. And there are ants which mimic rivers also. They resembles a spider. I just forgot the name, but we can you can check on that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, sure. Okay, okay. It mimics the exact vibration of the struggling thing. So that is how they observe the cue of the vibrating in the insect's vibration. So thank you so much, Arun. Any other things?
I hope nobody has any doubts or questions. So, as we come to the end of today's Biotalk session, we extend our sincere thanks to A. Bhaarathi for delivering such an engaging and insightful talk on nature's incognito mode, the evolutionary mastery of disguise. Today's session gave us a deeper understanding of how organisms use mimicry and coloration as powerful survival strategies, blending into their surroundings, deceiving predators, and thriving in the complex web of life. It truly highlights how intricate and fascinating evolutionary adaptations can be. BioRx Biotalks, as part of our student knowledge sharing series, aims to create a space where students can explore, share, and lead discussion in life science, and sessions like this are exactly what bring that vision to life. Before we wrap up, we are excited to announce our next Biotalk session, Ecological Niche Specificity, a framework for conserving threatened low elevation trees. Dr. Devika M. Anilkumar will be the speaker. She is a postdoctoral fellow, BGCI, UK and research associate, also a part of Western Ghats Hornbill Foundation. This will happen on 9th May 2026 from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. online via Google Meet. We encourage all of you to join us for another insightful session. Also, registrations are still open, so if you're passionate about any topic in biology, we invite you to step forward and be a speaker in our upcoming sessions. Thank you to everyone who joined us today and actively participated in this session. With that, we officially conclude today's session. See you in the next BioRx Biotalks. Until then, stay curious and keep exploring. Thank you.